UCS Director is designed to address many of the issues we've discussed previously. We talked a lot about the fact that, today's IT processes are very manual, they're complex, there's a lot of static resource allocation. All this stuff results in time wasted. And at the end, also, it adds a lot of high operational costs. We talked about the silos and all the other kind of stuff that really makes things difficult and keeps businesses from moving quickly. Well, with UCS Director, all those different components can be addressed in a much simpler way. So as we look at what UCS Director does, it really takes a lot of that, that process where, once you've done the development, you've done the planning, and then you get ready to do the deployment, it really makes that a lot easier. But at the same time, it also helps to break down a lot of those silos that we talked about before, where your storage team, your network team, and your server team can really work together in a tool set that allows them to be able to care for their own domains, their own areas of responsibility, but also provides that holistic solution that can help the business move faster. So if we look at Cisco's UCS solution as a whole, the UCS platform, UCS Director, is built as a turnkey solution. You've got the ability to be able to drive your policy into UCS Director, so network, compute, virtual management, or virtual machine storage, all these different components are then built in as policies within UCS Director. You've got that single pane of glass. It gives you that end-to-end infrastructure management and automation of the entire life cycle of your data center. So those domain managers we talked about, the ability to be able to address OS and virtual machines, compute, network, and storage, all these components are then stored as templates and standards within UCS Director that can then be automated and spun up very quickly. So let's look at the UCS Director architecture. The UCS Director architecture is built on a number of core components. There's a bunch of different capabilities built into UCS Director. You've got self-service infrastructure portal. You've got the ability to be able to have a sort of a mini services catalog right there within UCS Director. You also have the ability to be able to have a model-based infrastructure orchestrator. So instead of having to worry about all the nuances and all the components below it, it allows you to be able to request the sort of things that you want to do, and it can help to abstract a lot of the infrastructure beneath. You have dynamic capacity management, the ability to be able to address, do you have enough capacity to be able to spin up that new virtual machine? It addresses all that for you and helps to maintain the consistency. You have metering and chargeback services, so that ability to be able to measure how your data center is performing, as well as to be able to charge back those resources to different parts of the organization. Management and administration all can be handled within UCS Director. Again, that single pane of glass so that everybody's on the same page. It addresses configuration management, reporting, enterprise integration into billing systems and other components within the IT organization. The other cool thing about UCS Director is the fact that it has the ability to be able to support the virtual and the physical, which, as opposed to a lot of the competitors out there that are focused more on a virtual world and they're not really considering the physical side, it's a big weakness that they have in their portfolio. UCS Director addresses the physical and the virtual the same. In addition, it's also designed for a multi-vendor environment. We support multiple virtual infrastructure partners as well as the cloud brokering side that we talked before with ICF. UCS Director also has an open API that you can use to be able to extend the capabilities of the platform itself, so you can layer on other applications on top of it. So one example in Cisco's Enterprise Cloud Suite is Prime Services Catalog can sit on top of UCS Director and control it. So how does UCS Director work? It works basically by aligning the people, policy, and configuration with business. I know we've talked about that before, but it's such a crucial aspect. You take your subject matter experts, they know their stuff, they define the policies, they implement that into a policy creation vehicle within UCS Director. So they can take all that information, the requirements that they have, and they can standardize on it. And then that builds a policy that can now be instantiated within UCS Director. From there, that information is then provided into the provisioning tool to be able to actually generate the configuration and the provisioning for all the different components to be able to make the system ready as quickly as possible. So storage is configured properly. Network is configured. You've got the ability to be able to boot up new servers, deploying all the different components you need to get that server up and running, as well as the virtual switching infrastructure, too. All of these things working together allows you to be able to move faster and gives you that ability to be able to take all the consistency, all the requirements you have from a security perspective, and get this stuff out the door quickly. So what are some of the key components of UCS Director? The UCS Director solution is really built into two main pieces. You've got UCS Director, which is the actual unified infrastructure controller itself. It's, the one component that really has the ability to be able to provide a lot of these different things within it. We've talked about some of the modules that it does. All of this is built into a single virtual machine, or you can have multiple virtual machines in a multi-node deployment, which we'll talk about next. There's another component that's added as well called the bare metal agent. The bare metal agent's designed to be able to support automatic booting up of new servers. So it leverages Pixie boot capabilities for bare metal provisioning and allows the system to be able to address automatically applying operating system images to a particular server. So the server can come online, it can get information from the bare metal agent and be able to automatically load its operating system. Maybe you're going to load a hypervisor, or you're going to load a Oracle server. Whatever it is, you can support that with a bare metal agent. Again, as we talked about before, vCenter and some of those different platforms out there, they're primarily designed as only a virtual infrastructure management tool. With UCS Director, we support virtual and physical, and that's a key differentiator for the platform. So let's talk a little bit about the multi-node deployment options here. So here you've got the capability of really providing for scale. So one UCS Director will support, quite a number of devices, but in order to be able to support, many devices above that, you've got to be able to, develop the solution in such a way where you can, deploy it to support that extra capacity. So in order to be able to support those larger solutions, you've got a couple of rules that you have to follow. First thing is there has to be one primary node. The primary node is, if you want to think about it, as sort of the ultimate place for truth within the actual system. So that's where a lot of the information is stored that the other systems will sync to. So the primary node is the one that you connect to. That's the one you do your configurations on. The services node, you can have up to 6, and these services nodes can help to extend out the number of devices that you'll support. So each one of the services nodes can extend, pretty significantly the number of devices and the amount of UCS servers, the components that you're going to be supporting in the data center. One monitoring database is required for the multi-node deployment, as well as one inventory database. So these different components allow you to be able to extend from 5,000 devices up to 5,000 virtual machines up to 50,000 virtual machines. So again, you can support up to 6 services nodes, and that will get you a very, very large environment. Last but not least, the Cisco UCS Director has a self-service portal. Now, we've talked a lot about Prime Services Catalog, and we've talked about that as the, sort of that shopping cart-like experience for the organization. Don't confuse these two. UCS Director has a component built into it that we're going to talk a lot about in subsequent lessons, where we'll actually use it to be able to administer and manage different parts of the data center. So it has a self-service portal, but think of this not as the one that you want to expose to the rest of the organization, but one that you will use to be able to automate some of the configurations within the data center. I think of this more as an infrastructure management tool. Okay, but UCS Director does have a self-service portal, and it allows you to be able to provision the different IT infrastructure components. It allows you to be able to configure things from a catalog. So it gives you a lot of those capabilities that we talked about before, but it's really more designed for that internal data center or IT function.